Welcome to Dodo Modern Poets on this slightly inclement night in February, and thank you for coming out and getting away from the video and the smartphones and all the other electronic gadgetry and being amongst real people, hearing real poems. We're here every month more or less, so if you want to be included on our email mailing list, then please come and see us at the intro or something like that. Before I talk about the show, just to say this is a very lovely pub. They don't charge us for hiring the room, but they do ask us if we could shake the bucket for Macmillan's nurses every time we put a show on here. So if you've got any loose change, then please do that. I'll leave the bucket over here for a moment. And we're going to start with some of the open mic poets. But I want to say that later in the evening we have Bob Devereux, who's come all the way from St Ives today. Sue Johns, who is also from Cornwall, but hasn't had quite so far to travel.
Yay!
What else? If you haven't been to this venue before, there is a toilet on this floor. What we're going to do in terms of the shape of the show is we're going to have some open mic readers, then we're going to have Sue and Bob doing the first of two halves. Then we'll take a 20-minute interval so you can replenish your glasses with some fine Cornish ale, or whatever you like. Mulled rum probably, I suppose, this kind of weather. But first we're going to start with some open mic readers, and I'm going to be the first of them tonight, because some years ago, along with Bob and Sue, I'm a sort of honorary Cornish person because I've read so often in Cornwall. I'm one of the poets included in this anthology called Time for Song, which is contemporary Cornish poetry. So I'm going to read two from here. And
how much are on sale?
And Sue has brought some for sale to you, yes. So this first poem is called All the Fish in the Sea. I love you more than all the little fishes in the sea. I love you more than all the mysteries of the deep. I love you more than all the clearest, bluest water. I love you more than all the footprints in the sand. I love you more than all the boats approaching land. I love you more than all the storms in mid-Atlantic. I love you more than all the headwinds catching sails. I love you more than all the islands adrift in red sunsets. I love you more than all the drowned and lost shipwrecked. I love you more than all the hands on foredeck rails. I love you more than all the gulls that skim the waves. I love you more than all the plaintive songs of whales. I love you more than all the dolphins leaping ways. I love you more than all the wriggling creatures. I love you more than all the pirates' buried treasures. I love you more than all the stories sailors tell. I love you more than all the compass points to hell. I love you more than all the limes and rum. I love you more than all the hulls which lie becalmed. I love you more than all the boozy days in port. I love you more than bringing home the craft. I love you more than squalls now breaking fore and aft. I love you more than the closing down of sight, when all the ocean disappears into all the rolling night. Well, it's hard to think of Cornwall without thinking of the mining industry down there. Now sadly defunct largely. I think Sue will probably talk about that too. This is a poem called On the Dressing Floors of Grass, and it's about an accident that happened in a mine in Dolcoath in September the 20th, 1893, when the roof collapsed and killing 7 men who were trapped half a mile underground. And the dressing floors of grass, the title of the poem, the dressing floors of grass, is the surface of the mine. Before that suffocating moment when the bottom of Dolcoath fell in, a godsend of stones and dust signalled flight to safety, a scramble for the dressing floors of grass. The collapsing stull held granite, 100 fathoms weight, and 7 men under crushed. Only Robert Davies survived among the matchstick timbers, clinging hard to life, and dreams of autumn mist curling on the dressing floors at grass. That morning Captain Johns had ordered new timber balks from the hanging side to the footwall of the load, and work had just begun when the ground above opened like a road, creating a draught so fierce men fleeing were pinned against the rock, powerless of speech, while the boy, Jemmy Trescorner, was blown 4 fathoms through the choking dust, in hellish contrast to coastal breezes playing on the dressing floors at grass. But death had eaten well that day, and spared those pummeled by the violent air, sated by the lives of 7 who never more would see or pass, soft rain falling on the dressing floors at grass. Thank you. First of our open mic poets who are not in fact involved in organising the show, please welcome Christopher Bremner.
Thank you. I went down to Cornwall last November, for the first time in quite some time, and I came across wonderful places. I sort of paced the harbour just before I was about to leave the following day on a Thursday night, run by Bob. And I thought to myself, this is too good an opportunity to miss. I will try out some of my own old poetry I'd done before. And while I was in Cornwall, I visited lots of memories of when I was between the age of 3 and about 10. I came up to London when I was about 3, and we just saw it sometimes. It was 5 bob a week in a little 1-room cottage with my mum and my brother, and not much in the way of heating except colour gas, an electric light, a well down the road, milk from the farmhouse about 200 yards. So it was pretty, it was Ludgeford, it was near Ludgeford, pretty primitive. And, but despite having sort of travelled around the world, all sorts of places, and of course lived in London most of my life, I got really struck by the landscape, the change in the weather. So I went to, was it Lamorna Cove, and then off to Cunnane, and there's the Minute Theatre, and the weather changed so dramatically. It was extraordinary. I went about, I must have gone down every little side road in West Penwith. So, anyway, I was out on the moor. You can tell I'm well prepared for this.
Me too, Christopher.
All right. Well, I'll start with another one. It was actually I wrote it as a song, and you can't see a piano here, so it's not going to happen like that. It's always part of me. I saw him writing at the table in the corner of the pub, hidden by the red light shadows and the low black beams. Then I saw him at St. Just, staring at the lighthouse, past the Levant chimneys, past the copper green cliffs. I saw him on the coast path by the ruined rubble of the mine. You are everywhere in my life, and always part of me. I heard him calling loudly across fierce breaking waves, looking from the water. looking from the rocky beach. That day, the Levant engine broke, plunged you down the pit. Every bone was broken and every story split. What message were you sending from that cold and damp, dark place? You were always my best friend and always part of me. Best I forget you, but I cannot, for I am writing here. You are part of me, my friend, and I am part of you. In the pub, St. Just, the moor, the path, the beach, the sea, you are everywhere in my life and always part of me. You were always my best friend and always part of me. You were always my best friend and always part of me. That's it. The weather changed. I was out in the moor. I used to be allowed to sort of climb the cliffs and do all sorts of reckless things as a youngster. You know, a bit feral. Do not lay me down. A howling wind caught me on the high moor path, pushing me back to the start. I turned, looked at the foaming sea, the rippling heart, vanishing behind a marching black mist curtain, blinded by the icy pellets, daggers of a giant courting. Cocooned by the cold, I lift my arms to the sky, wringing wet, I call out, do not lay me down. Back to the beginning, save me, do not lay me down. I shelter by a cairn built for me alone. The giant whispers softly, I've come to take you home.
Are you doing another one?
Yeah, I've got,
Shall we give-
just you tell me.
Yeah. Okay, one more. If it's,
Fine.
Yeah.
There's loss, bereavement, and you think you've got a home, you've got your heart, your lover, you're all together, and yet suddenly things don't happen as they expect, or somebody dies, or what have you. It's called Our House. Here, once again, it's been a month. I turned the key, pushed the door, the air inside turned to silence in this house of joy, house of pain. Sofas pushed tightly back to back, clothes and sheets scattered across the room, stacks of papers and files on the floor, an unopened pile of letters waiting on the desk. Standing lamps all on and dazzling, so made the silence still louder. The kitchen dishes upended in the sink, the tidy spices still neat on the shelf. My bed and just an empty wardrobe left me for a moment hanging in the air. I lay on the bed, weary for a sleep, and pulled the soft duvet over me. I wrapped my arms around my heart and closed my eyes to dream, that I might then awake to find you here, to make our house of pain a house of joy again.
Thank you, Mr. Bremner. So our final open mic prize in this half is Rachel Woolf.
Thank you very much. I've got two poems. One's about a man and one's about a woman. The first poem, you're not going to be able to see this photograph. I didn't really mean to print it off, but it came off with the poem. So I'll show you. It should be a bright blue sky and vapour trail of an aircraft. That's what the photograph was. And that's what inspired this poem. And it's got a bit of a nod to the Winter Olympics, which is why I selected it. I didn't write it about the Winter Olympics, but it's got a bit of a nod to it. It's called Linearity. He thinks, speaks, sleeps in straight lines. Even lovemaking is Olympic tobogganing, tight, taut, linear. Only the heart stubbornly off kilter. A lopsidedness which helps him to just about cope with the curvature of her breast and the wit of her circumlocucious chat. But the geometry of pregnancy sees him flee, shot-putted on a double vapour trail of ever-parallel divergence. Airborne, he dare not look down, for fear the earth beneath is not actually flat. And this one is about it's relevant because 100 years ago some women were granted the vote. And this is about a middle-class woman and her awakening. Written, meant to be sort of 100 years ago. Be nice if you could sort of listen out to when she's able to talk and when she's not able to talk, because that's one of the themes, and the other theme is it's about fabric and different sorts of fabric. It's called Unknotting the Prevailing Wind. I watch as Justine's dimpled inner elbow, oozing with eczema and smeared with unguent of coal tar, tussles nightly to be free of bandages bound tightly. I see respite at puberty and how Justine anoints that silken place with lotion from the dressing table of her mother's boudoir before at last confessing. I hear, as a severe mamma scolds, without admitting that her daughter was depleting a liniment for treating the incipience of facial creases. I eavesdrop as Justine, eschewing calico and bombazine, implores Papa to let her purchase crêpe de chine. I listen as, clad in lace and given away, through gauzy veil, she mouths a vow to have, hold, and obey. I know by the waft of eau de neroli pulsing at her elbow, Justine is tendering her folds for exploration on a sheet of starched Egyptian cotton unpacked from her trousseau. I know, but do not glance. I observe Justine instruct her maid in the knack of folding damask dinner napkin to the diktat of etiquette by demonstrating the technique, and sense that she may learn to yearn for ripples of unfurling cloth, unknotting the prevailing wind. I notice that Justine is clothed in oriental robes draped loose, in homage to the outre sashes, ribbons, streamers, undulating and enticing of the ballet russe. I understand Justine has been enveloped in embroidering of twill and velvet banner, selecting skeins of 6-ply twist in shades of purple and of green, the colouring of irises, to stab out chain-stitch lettering contemptuous of the interdict that bans her sex from politics. I witness how the guardian of law, deploying one man to each elbow, forcibly restrains Justine for the manner of her acting, as she protests against the gag which she is bound to wear, who lacks the voice that comes with suffrage. Her detention rubs raw, a bandage tight as tourniquet around an open sore. And as you see, I know about the ironing and folding of a linen table napkin, because this was a task I had to do at George Watts's Ladies' College. I had to take a linen table napkin. We had to learn how to wash it, how to starch it, how to iron it with a flat iron and how to fold it appropriately. But the problem was that mine was cardboard and it was completely unfoldable by the time I'd finished with the start. But that's where that comes from. It isn't fanciful that this was the sort of task that young ladies were groomed to do. And that's, you know, I'm talking about 50 years after Justine, so you can imagine what her life would have been like.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.